believe we've connected with Q Madp. Q, are you out there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I am, Jim, and hello, everybody out there.
Okay.
They're coming in great, Q.
Yeah.
You sound fabulous.
Q's got that nice, strong voice, doesn't he?
He's coming in
I want
clear.
to start with my 4th of July sentiment that may not be politically correct in many ears.
Well, should we play the disclaimer one more time, or
yeah, let's play the disclaimer. We'll scare Q with the disclaimer. We'll scare the listeners out there.
The following program may contain content or music intended for mature listeners and does not necessarily represent the views or tastes of KPSU or Portland State University. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay, Q.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Isn't it pathetic and sad that we will have another July 4th even more dependent on foreign money because of the greed of our leaders, robbing us from our independence?
Okay. Can you the greed of our leaders? Can you explain that one? Flesh that out a little bit.
Well, look at all the money that we're borrowing from foreign nations because of the greed of our leaders.
Actually, we just touched on that.
Irresponsible spending that makes us no longer independent, that makes us dependent on others, on other foreign nations that can dictate things that we can and can't do.
Dependent, not independent.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's a good Independence Day theme, isn't it? Not that very good.
We were talking about that earlier.
It's with everybody. It's like the more money you borrow just as a citizen, the more you are dependent on whoever's borrowing or loaning you that money, and they can start to dictate and control things in your life.
Q, earlier while we were trying to get you connected here, I had made the comment. This is on a bit of the Greece issue and other things. A famous line by Sir John Templeton: "Those companies, people, or countries who borrow too much are eventually owned by those who save." Yeah.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, Q, about how that we're in an economic crisis, and that really it's a shame that that all of our debt is mostly owned by foreigners.
Yeah, Q, go ahead.
Well, and you see what's going on in Greece right now.
Yeah, it's terrible.
That's just one of the very few examples.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that this month already, the month of June 2011, you want to take a guess at how many men and women gave their lives this month alone serving our country to protect our freedom over in Iraq and Afghanistan? No. Any guesses?
It's a lot. I just heard the number, but I can't remember it exactly. It's a lot.
I want to preface this by saying we've been lulled into thinking this stuff is over, but that's not the case, is it?
No. So far, I've created 58 more pages, added 58 more names, and the tally, tally is wrong to use also, but the tally for this month can take up into, July for me to get the rest of the names. And, currently for the conflict we get, currently I've got 6,242 men and women that served in either Iraq or in Afghanistan that have since deceased. These are folks that are out there fighting to help maintain our independence.
Independence.
But yet, our leaders here, I'm being politically not correct again, our leaders are allowing our country to be invaded by those that don't believe in our Constitution.
Well, I always find it amazing how, like, the Chinese, when they do like a sovereign wealth fund, they'll go up to the 9%, almost to the 10%, but they'll invest almost 10%, but not quite, because then if they have to do the 10%, then they're regulated by the federal government. So they'll throw money at things, but only until the point where they don't have to listen to the government telling them what to do. And that's what's going on with our debt and the rest of the country in regards to Chinese owning and other foreign countries owning our debt.
Q.
Well, and then you've got. Let's see, we're in the Portland area, and you've got Lake Oswego, for example, that just recently allowed it to go through, where they're using different means of taxing you, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And taxation is another form of robbing you of your independence. Because the less money you have that you earn, the less you can dictate what happens with your life. They recently did a fast one where they are raising money for quote unquote schools by jacking up fees and utilities. Of course, Portland's about to do that too, and they've got a bunch of lame excuses. But, I think Americans really need to sit down and think about what it is to have Independence Day. What exactly does independence mean? Do you depend on other people? Do you depend on other countries? Can you stand up for yourself?
I was watching the other day Oliver Stone's JFK, and when he was giving his final thoughts on the case, and Kevin Costner was and he was talking about the country and really being. It seems like the American dream is slipping away. And it's very disconcerting to me that, the comfort's part of the American dream and why people come to this country and things like that is so that they can be free to pursue their joys and to pursue prosperity. And that opportunity is falling more and more by the wayside. And it's very disconcerting to me. And then you have the war, and we don't, as Americans, aren't really feeling the sacrifice of the war like they did in World War II and things like that. There is no rationing.
No, just buy a bumper sticker or buy a magnet. Here, see, I support, and of course those things were made in China or in Japan or someplace else, and that's exactly who you're supporting. You're not supporting our troops.
Yeah, and it's very disconcerting. There was something on online the other day about how that they're talking about bringing these Made in America stores and franchising them, which I think is a great idea because we need more Made in America things. Even at the dollar store you can get Made in America, which I think is great, or Target or places like that. But then there's other stores that you can't find it if your life depended on it. And it's very, I see that it seems like it's slipping away, that shared prosperity is slipping away.
Q, go ahead.
What bothers me, I'm all for Made in America if it isn't so damn expensive. Look, if I buy, quote, if it's labeled local fruit, how come I have to pay 10 times more than imported fruit? It's local. It shouldn't take as much of an effort to get the fruit to me. Is wrenching a bolt all day long really worth $75 an hour plus $1,500 in medical a month? Really?
Yeah,
I think that the greed factor, and I have to say that a lot of unions are at fault of this too. They've taken things to a ridiculous level.
Well, I think that the whole idea of behind the union is to make sure that people get a fair shake, but there has
That used to be the case.
Yeah.
We're all okay with that part.
Yeah, and I think that needs to get to that core value, is that everyone gets a fair shake and gets a fair compensation, but they need to earn that compensation, and they need to definitely be efficient, and especially the public sector workers. Someone was telling me a story about how this guy was paid to change light bulbs. Basically, that's all he did all day long was change light bulbs, and he was making a ton of money changing light bulbs. And then they switch it to a different thing. Well, the more light bulbs you change, and we'll give you the $75 for changing each light bulb. So the more light bulbs you change, the more money you make. And something needs to be done. I mean, obviously there needs to be reform in the system, and it's very disconcerting.
Yeah, Q.
See, the people are no longer have the independency to control that. So they have no say in that. I mean, you don't get to vote on it. Should we pay this guy for pushing a broom $350 an hour? Should we pay $600 for a toilet seat? For crying out loud, I am happy using a $2 crapper seat.
Well, we'll let that one go. But Q, we got to have family words here, okay?
No, I thought Crapper was the guy that invented the toilet.
Yeah, but I've been called that. I've been called that too many times. I think it's taken on another meaning. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We'll call it what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll call it the toilet seat.
Well,
That's okay.
and there obviously needs to be more efficiencies in our tax dollars, and it's very disconcerting.
Yeah. Q, some thoughts. Some more thoughts. So we're trying to give you free rein here. Go right ahead.
Okay, I'll give you some other thoughts. This Independence Day, think back of what it took for this country to become independent.
Oh, my.
And, it goes back many, many, many years. But if you think about it realistically, it wasn't that long ago.
No.
Because take your age and divide it by the age of this country. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And, I think people need to spend more time looking back, and I don't know, maybe everybody should get locked up in prison for a week. Then let them out and let them experience what it is like to be independent and to be free. Because I think, a lot of people have no idea. Well, they just take it all for granted.
Yeah.
And we need to really think about the men and women in our past militaries that fought and laid down their lives so that we have this freedom and we have this independence.
Well, you think about the kind of, the overcoming fascism and Nazism and the struggle that people, I think of my grandparents and their struggle for that. And, my own grandfather, he was in the Merchant Marine, and they got sunk, and he treaded water for days before he was rescued. And that was against the Japanese. And then he heard stories of the terrible torture that people had to endure during wartime, and the struggles that they had to go through. And you think overcoming fascism there in Europe, and the struggles that people had for that, and we don't feel that. We forget that people had to suffer for our independence, and it's a shame.
And I feel that nowadays, though, when people come in with their fascism, their Nazism, their whatever ideas, nowadays we make excuses for them instead of saying, no, that's wrong. Now we have people constantly, we have people that burn our flag. Yes, it's free speech, but hey, it's wrong.
It's the flag, and it represents free speech and freedom, and I suppose technically that includes burning the flag, but boy, oh boy, that flag has protected so many individual rights and so much freedom, and the beacon of democracy around the world, to say nothing of what you've mentioned, the sacrifice of so many for freedom around the globe.
I've always wondered, whenever, they talk about people burning our flag out on the sidewalk, out in public, why they don't arrest them for an illegal burning. Because if I stood out there and burned one of their books or my garbage, the minimum I would get would be a citation. That wouldn't be considered free speech.
If you brought some of your garbage out there and burned that on the street corner, they'd arrest you for a nuisance or illegal use of a fire.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
See, there is something wrong. People need to reflect back. They need to see what independence is all about. Yeah. They need to stand up and vote. They need to stand up and study and vote. And you got to remember one thing: they all lie, and it's protected by the Constitution.
Explain that again some more, Q.
This goes back, I think, 1 or 2 years when somebody brought a case, I think it was all the way up to the Supreme Court, about holding, for example, politicians responsible for lying in their ads. Well, it was ruled that that's considered free speech.
Oh, because it's part of an election.
Right.
Okay.
That's free speech. And like I said, people, you guys got to research. And too many people do what's called a lazy vote. Oh, I recognize his name. Okay, we'll vote that. Oh, I recognize. We'll vote. Yeah. No.
I want to encourage Q. I want to encourage everybody out there. Don't vote for names. Don't vote for lawn signs. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to get rid of the incumbents. Good, bad, RD, left, right, conservative, whatever.
And you talk about this. You look at how convoluted it is to vote for a judicial candidate that's on the ballot. There isn't a lot of information about that, and it's the judiciary that basically upholds the constitutionality of our rights, yet there's little information about these people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are appointed.
Yeah.
We have no say.
Yeah.
And, they keep it in the family. Look at the governors of Oregon, man. It's all in the family. They're just kind of rotating, what I'm saying?
Yeah, Q, one thing that could be done with judges is have a vote that says, shall Judge Smith be retained? See, they get appointed. No one will run against an incumbent judge because it's a suicide for a lawyer to do that. And so they run unopposed. But
and a lot of these judges, what they do is they want to get out of it. They quit early so that the governor or someone can appoint them. And then that person runs as an incumbent.
Yeah. Now, in some states, they have at the election, even if there's no incumbent, it's shall Judge Smith be retained for position number 42, and then that's a yes or a no. That way, you can vote. You can vote the guy out, and then if the guy is voted out, and you have to admit, if a judge is voted out, he or she really deserves to be voted out. And then at the next election, it's wide open, and they'll have 15 people running.
Well, and you don't know. There's hardly any information about these people's judicial decisions. There's hardly any information about them, and it's hard to find information. I remember a woman was running for a judge position, and she came before the Democratic Party of Multnomah County, and she asked for the endorsement. I had gone before this woman trying to get a restraining order because someone was threatening me. They'd seen me on the website for the Multnomah County Democrats, and they had seen me, being politically active and blah, blah, blah. Well, this person was threatening me. I went to this judge to get protection, to say, hey, I need protection to keep this person away from me. He's threatening my life. And she says, oh, no, you don't have enough unwanted contact. Basically, they have to make a legitimate, forceful attempt on your life before we can do anything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And so, and then I says, I remember you. I says, you said that I wasn't going to, basically I had to be in danger, you weren't going to stop it until they made an attempt on my life. And, there's hardly any information about these people out there. I mean, you'll get more information about candidates for, like, say, the legislature or city council or things like that. But you won't for judges, and these are the people that are supposed to uphold our rights.
Yeah, Q, jump in.
I've always wished that on any kind of elections you have the option of none of the above. And let's face it, if everybody votes for none of the above, we clean them out.
Q, I'd like to...
It's going to bring things down. It's going to give others a chance to step up. Maybe we're a bit more honest people, or people that actually believe in this country. I really dislike so many leaders that are out there that don't even believe in our country. They're out for the big buck for somebody else.
I'd like to point out historically that in 1989, the way the Polish people at their first election, the way they got rid of the Communist Party is somebody in the Communist Party. They rigged the whole thing. Every person to vote for was a Communist Party member, but they made the mistake of putting in there none of the above. And everybody voted for none of the above, and that is how the Polish people got their independence in they got their democracy in 1989. Of course, you can imagine what happened to the Communist Party person who made that mistake of putting none of the above in. But boy, that's people power. No, this person is not good enough. Try again. Q.
And remember how happy the Iraqis were when they got the vote?
Yeah.
They were all showing their fingers.
Yeah.
Their ink-dipped fingers showing, look, I voted.
And that was in defiance of those people.
How many Americans do you see out there saying, look, I voted?
And Q, that was in defiance of people saying, we will take the life of anybody who shows the purple finger there.
Well, and you look at this issue, look at the voter turnout here in the 2010 election and how low it was. And you're talking about a shift in the potential of how the country is governed, and people didn't turn out for it, and it's tragic.
Q, a couple minutes left here, so some final thoughts, and let us know any time you'd like to come back on our show. Just let us know. Q, some final thoughts.
I bid everybody a safe and happy Independence Day. Remember all those that make sure that we can continue to be somewhat of an independent country. And, hey, keep it safe out there with the firecrackers and fireworks. Watch your children. And keep a hose handy if you're a homeowner, because, unfortunately, there are a lot of irresponsible people out there.
You mean a fire hazard?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's actually a good thought. And I always say, and I say this partly to remind myself, that when you drive, and especially on a holiday, focus on your driving while you're driving. Nathan, a final thought or final question for Q?
No, I just want to say that I hope everyone has a happy Independence weekend and enjoys the holiday, and to really reflect on the seriousness of really what our independence means, and that we need to focus on renewing the American dream.
Very good point.
If you get a chance, visit IraqWarHeroes.org and see a list of those that gave their all recently.
Yeah. And the IraqWarHeroes.org, that's the website you maintain. You do this no charge for the fallen, those people who gave everything for our so we can come up before the public with a microphone, and as long as we don't use naughty words, we can say any political position we want. Q, a final thought for all of the people out there who are supporting our veterans in the ways that they can.
Thank you. And for all of those of you that are not, hey, it's not that hard to do the minimum, and that's when you see a service member, say thank you.
Yeah, a big thank you, and cut the people who have come back a little slack. They may be suffering inside, and we may not quite see it.
That's right, and That's one of the silent killers of war, things called PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to make sure that they come home, and we need to make sure that we welcome them home.
Right. Incredible words of wisdom there, Q. Q, let's keep you coming back on our show here. We appreciate your frankness and your honesty about the importance of being an American, upholding the Constitution, savoring and understanding what we have here. Nathan Jimenez, thank you so much for being part of our show.
It's an honor as always.
Okay, Q, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, that's our show for this evening. We'll be back next week. Good night now.